What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're diving into Pride Transport, a carrier out of Salt Lake City, Utah, who does take on new drivers, but their primary focus is on drivers with more experience. In this video, we're calling their recruiting department, taking a look at their website and some reviews online, and we're also going to check out a video review from a driver who's gone to work for Pride Transport. And at the end of the video, I'll answer the question, okay or no way. Would I, Trucker 219, go to work for Pride Transport? But we're jumping into that recruiter call right now. Let's go.
Pride Recruiting, this is Irene.
Hi, I was calling to see what it'd be like to come and work for you guys. I just got my CDL last Friday, and I was calling around to see if anybody would take me on.
So we don't offer training in all areas. What is your zip code? And unfortunately, that's not a good area for us. You would need to come in with 4 months of experience before we can bring you on.
Okay, what areas do you guys hire for new drivers out of?
We are in Utah, so the closer to Utah, the better. We service Arizona, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, but even the drivers that live in those areas are having to wait about 10 weeks to start. You would have to actually switch your license if you want to move to any of those areas.
Okay, so I would have to move to those areas, get my license switched over, but after that, what does the training look like? You said it's 10 weeks before those drivers can get on board?
It's about 10 weeks for the drivers that live in good areas right now, so I don't have anything open until the end of August.
Okay, and then what does the training look like? I'm just trying to get some information for another driver.
It's 300 hours of your driving time. It's anywhere between 6 to 9 weeks of training.
Okay, and then what is the time? You said 6 to 9 weeks, and then what is the pay while training's going on?
All that information is on our website, pridetranspo.com. During the first couple of weeks, it's $750. For the remaining of the program is 30 cents per mile for all miles to the truck. You and your trainer are going to be doing team driving after the second week of training.
Okay, so 2 weeks where we're just sitting with the trainer, and then it'll become a team operation.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and then after getting through the training, what is how you said the training is 6 to 9 weeks, but after that I go solo, right?
Correct. It would be depending on where you move.
Okay, and then the cents per mile when you go solo,
57 cents.
starting out as 57 cents per mile,
Correct.
and then the average miles per week.
Anywhere between 2,200 to 2,800 miles every week.
Okay, and is there a pay progression? After so many months, it would go up.
Every year you get a 1 cent raise.
Okay, and then what is the home time?
Home time is based on where you live, so I wouldn't be able to tell you until you move and switch your license.
Okay, gotcha. And is there any tuition reimbursement?
For drivers that live in good areas, yes, up to $6,000.
And then how is that paid out? Is it like a weekly or a monthly?
Monthly, $200 a month.
Okay. Do you guys have cameras in your trucks?
Outward facing.
Just outward only? Okay, and then what are your guys' trucks governed at?
E5 on the pedal, 68 on the cruise.
Okay. All right. I will definitely look into moving. I'm looking to be over the road, so I'm happy to be wherever. So if you guys are already 10 weeks out anyway, maybe I can get moved in time to get on to the next class.
Yeah, if you find a company that can provide that training, just make sure that you stay there for at least 4 months. That's our minimum requirement for coming in as a solo qualified driver.
Okay, so I could go to another company for 4 months and then come to you guys? Okay. Is there any differences to the information, like cents per mile or anything with that 4 months of experience, or does it all start out at the same?
No, they all start the same. With 4 months verified is 67 cents per mile. If you stay where you're at right now, the home time that you're looking at is 5 weeks out with 1 week home. We would fly you home every 5 weeks for your home time.
And then if I were to be in Utah, what do you know what the home time would be roughly over there?
There are different options available. So since the only terminal is here in Utah, sometimes we have local, we have dedicated, we have regional, we have over the road. So there are many options.
Okay, gotcha. But those different positions over the road, local, regional, all those are only available out of Salt Lake City?
Correct.
Gotcha. And everywhere else in the
Like
United States would have to be over the
Denver,
road?
no, Denver, we offer dedicated regional. over the road. Arizona is a good area too. California is a good area. So there are really good areas where we can offer better home time. But out of Tennessee, it's a flight home time. So it's 5 weeks out, 1 week home.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you giving me that information. It helps
Yeah,
out a
no
lot.
problem. Of course. Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, so I just got off the phone with the recruiter for Pride Transport, and you guys have been asking for a company that prioritizes West Coast, and this is it. When I gave the recruiter my zip code in Tennessee, they said that they don't offer anything for new drivers out here in Tennessee, but they do prioritize states like Utah, Arizona, and California. So in order to go with Pride Transport as your first truck driving job, you need to be living in those areas. Pretty much everywhere else, they're going to require at least 4 months of over-the-road experience. That being said, if you are using Pride Transport as your first truck driving job, they require 300 hours of training. The recruiter said this generally takes between 6 and 9 weeks. The first 2 weeks of that, you'll be the one driving the truck and the trainer will be in the passenger seat. After the first 2 weeks with the trainer, you and your trainer will become a team operation. For the first 2 weeks, you'll make $750 per week. After that, you'll make 30 cents per mile to the truck, meaning all the miles that the truck gets, you'll be paid 30 cents per mile for. Once you complete that 6 to 9 weeks of training, you'll go solo in your own truck. Pay for this starts out at 57 cents per mile, averaging 2,200 to 2,800 miles per week according to the recruiter. And every year that you're on board with Pride Transport, you'll get a 1 cent per mile increase. Now the recruiter did say if you do have that 4 months of experience and you go on board with them, you will still start out at that 57 cents per mile. Now the recruiter wasn't very clear on the home time based off of the locations that do offer training, but she did say that they have a bunch of opportunities, whether that's local, regional, or over the road. So the home time can vary for that. That being said, somebody coming on with the 4 months of experience can expect to be out on the road for 5 weeks at a time and then home for 1 week. And if you live somewhere that's not on the West Coast, they will fly you out for that week of home time. For new drivers that live within the hiring areas for training, they do offer tuition reimbursement. Their tuition reimbursement is up to $6,000, paid out at $200 per month. Pride does have cameras in their trucks, but they claim that it's only outward facing. And their trucks are governed between 65 and 68 miles per hour, 65 on the pedal and 68 on cruise. As a bit of a forewarning, if you're wanting to go with Pride for your training, you can expect about a 10-week waiting period before they'll hire you on as a new driver. So let's flip over to the calculator and see how their numbers are panning out. Okay, according to the recruiter, they said they were averaging 2,200 to 2,800 miles per week, but as a new driver, that 2,200 number is going to be the most accurate. As I found in my experience for new companies, anywhere from 18 to 2,300 miles is the normal range. 2,200 miles multiplied by 57 cents per mile gives you $1,254 pre-tax. And we'll take that number and multiply that by 80% because 20% roughly will be taken out for taxes, so you'll keep that 80%. And that means your paycheck after tax would be about $1,000. Now let's say you come on board with that 4 months of experience for Pride, that 26 to 2,800 miles per week range sounds about fair. So we'll go ahead and give it to them at 2,800 miles per week. On average, there's going to be some weeks that are less and some weeks that are more. And we'll multiply that by 57 cents per mile, and that gives you $1,596 for the week pre-tax. Again, we'll multiply that by 80%, and your paycheck coming home to you after tax would be about $1,276. So if we multiply that low number by 43 weeks out of the year, you'd make almost $54,000 for the year, and that high number by the same weeks per year, you'd make $68,000 for the year. So let's keep these numbers in mind and head over to their website to see if we can find out some more information. All right, so we're over here on the website for Pride Transport, and it shows here that they have a bunch of different driving opportunities: solo driving, team driving, driver training, competitive pay, family culture, and benefits. Clicking over here to the drivers tab, it's showing truck driver jobs hiring now up to $2,000 in bonuses. It says we are over 40 years strong in Utah, still owned and operated by a family of truckers. Simply put, Pride Transport offers the best truck driving jobs in America, including refrigerated truck driver jobs, reefer driver jobs, and long haul opportunities. It says our sign-on package includes $500 orientation pay, $500 after the first load, and an additional $1,000 if you stay with Pride for 6 months. So that's where a sign-on bonus can be confusing. It doesn't mean that you're going to get $2,000 as soon as as you get on board with them. Every company will divvy up the pay in their own individual way. For Pride, it seems like they have the orientation after the first load and then after 6 months. Some companies will do every 3 months you get a bit of the bonus, all the way up to a year. It just all depends on the company. From what I'm seeing, it looks like Pride is pretty much exclusively a refrigerated truck driving job. Down here it says have a CDL and need training. If you just got your Class A, or maybe you have been away from the industry for a while, Pride Transport has got you covered. Pride offers training and refresher courses available in select areas to help you secure the best truck driving jobs hiring now. Our programs are custom tailored to each driver's needs, so whether you're new or returning, we have what every driver needs to get behind the wheel quickly and most importantly, safely. So I get questions all the time asking about companies offering refresher courses, and it seems like Pride is definitely one of them. But again, it's going to come down to being in the correct location. Arizona, California, Utah. If you're in those locations, most likely they'll be able to work with you on a refresher course. If you're out on the East Coast, this company's not going to be it. Now, this is a very rough map of their hiring areas. They are a nationwide company, however, there are better areas than others. So I know my head was in the way, but the lighter color green is a good chance of getting hired, and a darker green is the best chance of getting hired. So as we can see looking at this map, way up here in the way northeast, it looks like is a little bit darker area. Chicago area is a little bit darker. It's a hair darker here in Texas. But realistically, over here on the West Coast is where these guys are going to be hiring out of. And if you're not in any of these locations, this isn't going to be the place to go and get your training from, but they'll still hire you if you live outside of these areas. You would just have to have that 4 months of experience. According to their website here, they do offer health insurance, dental insurance, life insurance, vision insurance, an employee assistance program, and supplemental insurance, as well as a 401k retirement plan. They've got some pictures here of their terminals, and it looks like a driver appreciation event. Based off of this, it looks like their founder, their CEO, and their president all hold CDLs. And over here, I found some pay information for solo drivers, and it says they pay up to 75 cents per mile. It says all miles are paid, guaranteed detention pay, mileage bonus, fuel bonus, paid vacation, stop pay, layover pay, and breakdown pay. But it doesn't specify how much any of those are, so I would definitely be asking a recruiter for those breakdowns if that's what you're looking for. And there's some other tabs in here for teams and training as well. There's relatively limited information on their website, so let's check out some Indeed reviews to see what other drivers have had to say about working for Pride. Right off the gate, we have a 3.9 star out of 161 reviews, with the majority being in the 5-star range. As always, we have the reviews sorted to newest so we can get the most up-to-date information, and this first one is from April 2nd of 2026. The title of the review says, "Overall, Pride is an amazing company where you can make great money if you're willing to put in the work." This one's coming from a Class A CDL driver. This one's coming from a Class A driver. What is the best part of working at the company? Great communication and great pay. Everyone here is very professional, and I honestly can't say anything bad about the company. What is the most stressful part about working at the company? Being away from home can be stressful, especially if you have family. The next review is a 3-star from January of 2026. Better than average. Most management and coworkers are great people who treat you well. Unless you're on a dedicated route, it's very random work, and unless you are someone that can change your sleep schedule with little to no notice, it can be a very difficult and taxing job. The culture at this company is positive though, better than at the mega carriers. The most enjoyable part is completing your runs, and especially the loads with the long open roads. The hardest part is the random schedule and many very difficult locations to maneuver in Southern California. Pros say very little micromanaging, friendly management, weekly pay, newer trucks, and fair home time. The cons say only one terminal, low pay for the time spent, inconsistent miles, random schedule, unreliable small shared drop yards. Well, I'm going to put my 2 cents in on this one. Unfortunately, that's just the way trucking is. If you're running for 11 hours a day, you're always going to be moving 1 hour backwards every single day. And if you run out your 14 clock, you'll be moving forward 2 hours every day. So there are times where you're going to be a night driver, and there are times where you're going to be a day driver, and that's just the way it goes. This next one is from November of 2025. Pride is truly a professional operation. Pride Transport is one of the best companies I have ever experienced. They are known for great equipment and great drivers, but I am mostly impressed by their integrity. Alright, that's a really great review. This next one here might tank that one at a 1 star, and the title of the review says, just no. The body of the review says there's no reason to fail good drivers, and there's no reason good drivers can't make adjustments and improve. Pride Transport needs improvements at minimum to their road testers and their attitude to not lose great drivers. The pros are lunch provided during orientation and hotel provided. Cons are lack of understanding real world safety. Road testers have bad attitudes. Okay, that's not good if somebody's trying to train you or test you and they're being negative about everything. This next one is a 5-star, very easy to make money. The body says fantastic company. They never had an issue keeping me rolling. If you kept communication with your dispatcher, they would have a new load for you the day before you deliver the current one. I was always paid on time and I was always given a chance to push myself hard. They don't micromanage either. And finally, this last one from August 3rd of 2025 says empty promises and it's a 1-star. The body says okay company, they could be better. Main complaint is that there's not many miles to drive if you're new. They will keep you happy your first few weeks. Hopefully they get better. Okay, so there's a lot of back and forth on these reviews. Quite a few 5 stars, some 1 stars, and some 3 stars. But from what I'm seeing, a lot of the big complaints are personal preferences. One about the way of trucking, and that's just that the schedule's inconsistent. One about the road testers having a bad attitude, and another one about empty promises. But overall, their reviews are 3.9 out of 5 stars, and to be honest, it's one of the higher ranking ones that I've done a deep dive on so far. So I found a video review of a driver sharing his experience working for Pride Transport. And this video is coming from the YouTube channel Road Calm. And as always, I'll leave a link for that full video in the description below.
I think one of the first things that we look at as truck drivers is, can the company give us the mileage that we want? And if they can they do it consistently? So in order to answer that particular question, can they do that, you have to look at their customer base. And sometimes a company can have a great customer base, but they're not delivering their freight on time, they're not doing what the customer wants, and so they go with another carrier. And with Pride Transport, I did figure out that they have a pretty good customer base, but I think that it was not large enough or solid enough to even give a solo driver or even team drivers the mileage that they want. And to be honest, I was team driving with Pride Transport, and there were weeks where I only had 3,000 miles. And if you take a look at that, that's only about 1,500 miles per driver, and that's a very bad week. And so in going to talk to my dispatcher about that situation, I did figure out that they only really have one main customer that they go to for team drivers. And that customer, we were waiting 6 to 8 hours at a shipper, and I know that no truck driver wants to wait that long. Even with detention pay, you start doing the math, you can make a lot more money within 6-8 hours driving on the road versus just waiting, getting the $15 an hour rate. So that's one of the first things that we look at in a company. Can they give us the mileage? And in my experience, again, I saw low weeks, and this is team driving. And as you know, team drivers should be getting a lot more miles, up to 5,000 or 6,000 miles per week. And I do understand that right now the freight market is slower, but this was reefer, this was food, something that has to be moved regardless. And so this was my personal experience with the mileage at Pride Transport. Apart from not getting the mileage that we wanted as team drivers, we were hearing other stories that solo drivers were experiencing some problems as well with dispatch. And that brings us to our next point. Communication, of course, is the most important thing in order for a truck driver to be heard, to get the miles that they want, to have a good week. And there were times where communication was very poor between myself and the dispatcher. And for instance, we had a dedicated load to drop, and we could have saved a lot of time if our dispatcher had told us that this was a drop and hook and it was over the weekend, so we had to wait till someone was there. And this caused a big gap in communication, causing us time and money. And no truck driver wants to lose mileage when it comes to a lack of communication. We can better understand as truck drivers that, yeah, we're going to lose mileage, and sometimes we're going to have slow times, and freight can slow down, and we may understand that as truck drivers. But if it was due to a lack of communication on our dispatcher's part, and it's costing us money, no, that's a different story. Added to this frustration.
Okay, so this driver's talking about poor communication, low mileage, and these are two pretty big problems to have.
Added to this frustration, in my experience working for Pride Transport, we ran into a problem not getting home on time, and we were out close to a month. So I believe that gave them plenty of time to give us the dates that we wanted, and we were being flexible. We were saying that we don't have to be here on this date exactly, but we do want, these days off because we're going to be out up to a month. And I believe that, you need that time as a truck driver to recover, to spend time with your family, to spend time with your partner, and so on. And so this was something that I experienced. Our dispatcher did not get us home on time, and they were accusing us of not putting in our home time correctly or on time, even though it was. And so it became an ethical issue. I'm not afraid to share this because I want other drivers to be aware, to be careful, to not find yourself in this situation because of lack of communication or because this is how the company does things. And we don't want to be in a situation where we are being disrespected, being told that we didn't do something, and we have the proof that we did through email, through the tablet system, putting in home time. And so it becomes a big mess. It becomes a he said, she said kind of thing, and that's not a good situation to be in, because that doesn't build trust between you and the company. It doesn't get you home on time, and everybody just starts becoming frustrated and you're not happy. So keep in mind, this is what I experienced. I'm not saying that you're going to experience this, but it comes down to communicating with your dispatcher, your needs, what you're wanting, as far as home time, and to make sure that you set your boundary and don't let them step over you. Don't let them try to push a load on you and say that the load comes first, that customers comes first. I think that's a time when you need to go in and talk to your dispatcher. Hey, look, I understand that you're trying to do a job. I understand that you have customers that you need to satisfy on the company's part, but if you're going to push a load on me and make that the priority, then you're not really thinking about the driver. You're not really thinking about what they want. You just have one agenda, and that is to get the load on time. And maybe you're getting a bonus for that. That's fine. There's a way to do things professionally and a way to keep your drivers happy, and that is simply by communicating and being honest. I can't get you home on these dates, but I can work this, and that's not what I experience at Pride Transport. What I experience is you're going to take this load. It doesn't matter if you put the request in on time from your home time. We're going to get this load delivered, and it doesn't matter if you're not going to get the days that you want. To be fair, I'm not saying that Pride Transport is not a good company, because you can find these things in every company. A lack of communication, them trying to push a load on you, your dispatcher not working with you correctly. These are issues that we find in the trucking industry, and that's inevitable that it's in every company. I'm sharing my personal experience, what I went through. Now, I said in a prior video that my orientation experience was a good one, that their equipment was well kept, the people were very friendly, and they took care of their things. When it came down to my over-the-road experience, it was a different situation. My dispatcher was a very kind person, but when it came down to the actual issues of getting home on time, that was neglected. When it came down to where communication mattered, that fell through the cracks and caused us, a lot of money that we could have made during that downtime. This is just simply giving you an honest review of my experience. Remember, Pride Transport has good equipment. They have friendly people. They have a streamlined orientation experience. However, it comes down to their customer base. Can they perform? Can they produce the results that they are advertising as far as their mileage? If you're getting under 2,000 miles a week, that's not good, because you can do better where companies do have the dedicated freight, they do have the dedicated customers, and they have the ability to give you the mileage that you want, even in slow time. So keep this in mind. This is just my personal experience.
All right, so he definitely highlighted some good things that were about Pride Transportation, but he did have some critiques as well. Poor communication, dispatch issues getting you home on time, and inconsistent miles. But to be fair, this review was put out 2 years ago. So it's completely possible that some things have changed since then, but just keep that in mind as you're going into orientation and you're talking to recruiters. Take this knowledge with you and do with it what you'd like. All right, so we've talked to a driver recruiter, looked at their website, taken a look at some online reviews, and now it's time to answer the question, okay or no way. Would I, Trucker 219, go to work for Pride Transport? And the answer to that question is no way, but this has little to do with the company and more so to do with their location. Being that they primarily operate on the West Coast and I'm more on the East Coast, it would definitely be a lot harder for me to get home time. That being said, if I were to live on the West Coast, I think this would be a good option to start off with, as 57 cents per mile starting out is really one of the higher cents per mile. And if they're being relatively honest with their miles per week, then it's definitely also going to be up there on the higher weekly pay. I like that they have a lot of options for drivers located in that area as far as regional, local, or over the road. And I also like that they only have outward facing cameras. Now, is this a good company to go with after you've got a little bit of experience? In my opinion, I'm going to say no. And the main reason for that is somebody coming on with 4 months of experience and someone coming on with no experience, the pay would be exactly the same. And in my opinion, if you've got some experience and you're looking to make a switch, you're going to want to make a switch to something better, not worse or equal. So it's a no way for me being outside of their main hiring area, but it could be a good fit for a new driver, but I wouldn't recommend making a switch from an established carrier that you're already with to come join Pride, given that their pay is going to be the same as what a new driver would make. But I want to hear from you guys. Based off of this information, would you want to go to work for Pride Transport? Leave your opinion down in the comment section below. And if you want to check out more deep dives on starter companies, click the playlist right here. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and share with your friends. All right, bye.